Justin Fields was traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers for a 6th-round pick that actually becomes a 4th-round pick if he plays 51% of the snaps for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And I didn't expect Justin Fields to go here. Not at all. There's stories out there. We don't know who the teams are, but apparently Justin Fields turned down 4 other trade offers to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. He knew what Mike Tomlin's capable of. He knows what the Steelers' culture is. Justin Fields has been scarred by the lack of head coaching, weapons, defensive support, and front office capability since he was selected 11th overall in the draft years ago. And Justin Fields' market, although, albeit he is to blame some, what can you say Justin Fields really had? We saw them bring in DJ Moore, and Justin Fields doesn't necessarily break out as a passer, but DJ Moore comes in and has a 1,000-yard season. He is the unquestionable number one target for Justin Fields. And Justin Fields has been scarred by all this. So he wanted to go to a culture that is sound. Yes, maybe they haven't had a playoff win in a while. Maybe they haven't won a Super Bowl in a while, but they're the Pittsburgh Steelers. They still have that legendary, professional, no BS approach pedigree, and he wants to be under that Mike Tomlin leadership. The Bears did right by him in this aspect, and I appreciate Chicago for doing that because Justin Fields, we know that again, it's been tough for him. Okay, he hasn't had the best roll of the dice in Chicago. Chicago hasn't done the best thing to surround him. So they said, you know what? We're going to let you take control of this a little bit. Justin Fields' agent, his representation came in and said he wants to go to the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bears did right by him, and that is where he sent them again for a 6th-round pick. It becomes a 4th-round pick if Justin Fields plays the majority, 51% of the offensive snaps, respectfully, at the quarterback position. So, if based off this, if I had to guess who made trade offers potentially for Justin Fields, I think you take a look at 8, maybe 9 teams here. I think the Vikings are one. We know the roster they're working with right now. Hawkinson, Addison, Jettas, Aaron Jones, Kevin O'Connell. Defense could be better. The Titans, they've got Calvin Ridley. They got DeAndre Hopkins. They've got Tony Pollard. There's weapons there. Brian Callahan is probably going to succeed being the OC from the Bengals. The Falcons, of course, is an obvious one. We discussed that. The Seattle Seahawks, I'll say. I know Pete Carroll's not in there anymore. Mike McDonald as the DC is now in as the DC from the Ravens is now in as the head coach for the Seattle Seahawks, but there is DK Metcalf, there is Tyler Lockett, there is Zach Charbonnet, there is Kenneth Walker. Weapons in these teams, and these teams need a quarterback. The Vikings, Will Levis is there with the Titans, but would it really hurt to have Justin Fields as a backup? Not necessarily. The Falcons before they signed Kirk Cousins. Just talking about potential landing spots. The Seahawks, we don't know what's up with that yet. Is Geno Smith still going to be the one to actually be quarterback? Could the Seahawks be looking for a quarterback? We know what Geno Smith has been a little bit lately. The Raiders, they just let Jimmy G go. I can't remember who they Gardner Minshew. So Gardner Minshew is going to get the starting job there. 2 years, $25 million. But do you really believe Gardner Minshew is it? I think we all know he is a bridge. And of course, Justin Fields still has to prove himself, but Josh Jacobs did just leave, but they just got Christian Wilkins for defensive help. They've got Devontae Adams. They've got Hunter Renfrow. Maybe a little less weapons there. I also think the Broncos could have been a team to come in and make an offer as well. They just got rid of Russell Wilson. Of course, Jerry Jeudy just left town. Cortland Sutton's still there. So maybe not the Broncos because they don't have a ton of weapons. And the the Patriots. So let me go with that one, and then I'll go to the next one. The New England Patriots, we know they need a quarterback. Gerard Mayo, very player-friendly. He was talking about how they're going to spend some cash. They've made some signings in free agency. They have a very high pick in the NFL draft as well, which is a reason why they could not have been a trade caller, but still to have Justin Fields as the backup to possibly mentor from somebody. Mentor from a rookie, not necessarily, because that's more than likely going to be the case with the New England Patriots, and they did trade Mac Jones to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And then the Washington Commanders, again, we know that they have a higher pick as well, but they've got Scary Terry. They do lose Antonio Gibson to the aforementioned Patriots. They did lose Curtis Samuel to the Buffalo Bills. We know that they, shelled out some of their talent also. So not the most weapons necessarily with the Patriots, with the Broncos, with the Commanders, or even the Raiders, but those teams were quarterback needy. I would have liked to think that the Saints, because I think the Saints now getting rid of Jameis Winston. He's with the Browns. We're going to talk about that also later in the episode. Nathan Peterman or Justin Fields as your backup. I think every Saints fan would have been okay with shipping out a 6, maybe escalating it to a 4th for the backup capability that Justin Fields could have. Now, would I want him under Dennis Allen? No. Would I want him probably learning from Derek Carr? No. Carr's a veteran, He's good, but he's not great. And we've had plenty of discussions about Derek Carr here on this show. But more than anything, Justin Fields, again, wanting to go to that Steelers culture, wanting to be with Mike Tomlin, he needs to be mentored right now. He's scarred. He's broken. He's a disappointment as a number 11 overall pick. And that's not being rude. That's just what the consensus is on him right now. I still think Justin Fields can be great. I know what Justin Fields was after he left Georgia, how he played at Ohio State, playing in a national championship against Trevor Lawrence. And if he would have had more around him, like some of these other rookie quarterbacks have been supported, like the Texans just gave us a perfect display with CJ Stroud, he could be in a better playing light and be in a better situation. But now he's going to get to learn from Russell Wilson, who is a Super Bowl winning quarterback, who's been to multiple Super Bowls, who's been to the big game, who was under the tough coaching of Pete Carroll, who's now going to be under Mike Tomlin. It is just more structure and validity in terms of surrounding yourself with higher achieving people. And Justin Fields is taking it back to the basics, taking it on the nose, and he's going to go here and be mentored by Russell Wilson, learn how to read defenses better, learn how to maybe not have the same personality as Russ, because we know the kind of stories that are out on that. I think Russ is just being himself, but he's going to get a chance to become smarter here. And I think really there couldn't have been a better destination for that case as to why Justin Fields probably picked it. And Mike Tomlin already came out early on and said, hey, look, Justin, you're the backup. Russ, you're the starter. Taking that pressure out of the situation. There's not going to be any quarterback competition because we know they bring Russell Wilson in. Kenny Pickett gets traded to the Eagles. They bring in Justin Fields. And there was silly talks about a quarterback battle between Russell Wilson and Kenny Pickett. And I said, look, if Russ loses a quarterback battle to Kenny Pickett, who we know isn't it, I don't know how much more I could defend Russell Wilson anymore. But Mike Tomlin went ahead and put the standard out there. You're going to learn from Russell Wilson. And I like how he's being upfront with that. I like how he's also taking that pressure off Russ, because Russ should be a starter. This backup talk is absurd. This wash talk is absurd. Wasn't done right by the Broncos. You be my starter. Justin Fields, you're going to learn from him. And again, I'm a fan of that. I think Justin Fields has a really good chance to take advantage of it. But when will Justin Fields possibly start again in the NFL? This year is possible if Russell Wilson gets hurt or if he plays bad, whatever the case is. If he's not able to play, Justin Fields will be in. But I think it's possibly next year, maybe 2 years from now. It just depends on how the season plays out with Russell Wilson. Of course, we've heard some stories of the Steelers' plan to sign a long-term deal with Russell Wilson at the end of the year, but I think that's jumping the gun way too much. Don't let that 1.2 million get to your head. Just ask the Broncos and about the 85 million in dead cap that they're having to pay for him. But I think it is really going to depend on how this year goes. Could a team possibly come in and swipe Justin Fields before the trade deadline? Could they come in and get him next offseason? We don't know, but I think it's safe to say, again, barring injury or Russ just playing awful like the Nathaniel Hackett Broncos days, Justin Fields is not going to be starting for this season, and it'll just depend on what next season brings about. The Chicago Bears getting this in the trade package for Justin Fields, it bites at Chicago Bears fans because he was a number one pick. You traded up for him. You moved assets for him. I said that they stole the draft at the time that they did it, and they took him with the 11th overall pick. Now they shell him out for a sixth rounder. If he plays 51% of snaps, which I don't believe he will, maybe the Steelers can work that out somehow. But again, I don't see how Russ isn't doing what he's supposed to do over there and taking all of those snaps, being QB1 for the entire 17 and, possibly more going forward if they make the playoffs. It's going to be a sixth round pick. But this is what I was saying also. The Chicago Bears waited too long to move Justin Fields. That's why they got the sixth round pick. Everybody was flying off the shelf. Baker Mayfield was getting $115 million. Kirk Cousins was signing a $180 million deal. We see all these quarterbacks popping around in the NFL. Gardner Minshew, 2 years, $25 million. And it was crickets for Justin Fields. All these quarterbacks were flying around in free agency, which does show you that maybe the Bears, from their perspective, to maximize the value, move off him earlier, maybe by the trade deadline in the season, let him play good, give him a softer part of the schedule. But none of that happened, and they were stuck with Justin Fields. And I'd love to know, I'm sure stories will come out, what these other four teams actually offered to go and get Justin Fields. I would love to know what those teams actually offered up, because depending, and again, they wanted to do right by him, but I would love to know what some of these trade packages could have actually been for Justin Fields.